Hello, welcome to the Self Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Chapter 5 Indian Sociologist, and our topic is M.N. Srinivas on the village. The Indian village and village society remained a lifelong focus of interest for Srinivas, although he had made short visits to villages to conduct surveys and interviews. It was not until he did field work for a year at village near Mysore that he really acquired first-hand knowledge of village society. The experience of field work proved to be decisive for his career and his intellectual path. Srinivas helped encourage and coordinate a major collective effort at producing detailed ethnographic accounts of village society during the 1950s and 1960s. Along with other scholars like S.C. Dubey and D.N. Mazumdar, Srinivas was instrumental in making village studies the dominant field in Indian sociology during this time. Srinivas' writings on the village were of two broad types. There was first of all ethnographic accounts of field work done in villages or discussions of such accounts. A second kind of writing included historical and conceptual discussions about the Indian village as a unit of social analysis. In the latter kind of writings, Srinivas was involved in a debate about the usefulness of the village as a concept, arguing against village studies. Some social anthropologists like Louis Dumont thought that the social institutions like caste were more important than something like a village, which was after all only a collection of people living in a particular place. Villages may live or die, and people may move from one village to another, but their social institutions like caste or religion follow them and go with them wherever they go. For this reason, de Mount believed that it would be misleading to give much importance to the village as a category. As against this view, Srinivas believed that the village was a relevant social entity. Historical evidence showed that villages had served as a unifying identity and that village unity was quite significant in rural social life. Srinivas also criticized the British administrator anthropologist who had put forward a picture of Indian village as unchanging, self-sufficient little republics. Using historical and sociological evidence, Srinivas showed that the village had in fact experienced considerable change. Moreover, villages were never self-sufficient and had been involved in various kinds of economic, social, and political relationships at the regional level. The village as a site of research offered many advantages to Indian sociology. It provided an opportunity to illustrate the importance of ethnographic research methods. It offered eyewitness accounts of the rapid social change that was taking place in the Indian countryside as the newly independent nation began a program of planned development. These vivid descriptions of village India were greatly appreciated at the time as urban Indians as well as policy makers were able to form the impressions of what was going on in the heartland of India. Village studies thus provided a new role for a discipline like sociology in the context of an independent nation, rather than being restricted to the study of primitive people. It could also be made relevant to a modernizing society. Now let us conclude the unit. These four Indian sociologists helped to give a distinctive characteristics to the discipline in the context of a newly independent modernizing country. They are offered here as examples of the diverse ways in which sociology was Indianized. Thus, Gurye began with the questions defined by Western anthropologists, but brought to them his intimate knowledge of classical texts and his sense of educated Indian opinion. Coming from a very different background, a thoroughly westernized modern intellectual like D.P. Mukherjee rediscovered the importance of Indian tradition without being blind to its shortcomings. Like Mukherjee, R. Desai was also strongly influenced by the Marxism and offered a critical view of the Indian state at a time when such criticism was rare. Trained in the dominant centers of Western social anthropology, Aman Srinivas adopted his training to the Indian context and helped design a new agenda for sociology in the late 20th century. It is a sign of the health and strength of a discipline when succeeding generations learn from and eventually go beyond their procedures. This has also been happening in Indian sociology. Succeeding generations have subjected the work to these pioneers to constructive criticism in order to take the discipline further. The signs of this process of learning and critique are visible not only in these books but all over Indian sociology. Now let us wind up the session, and we have come to the end of the chapter as well as book. Thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self Learning podcast.